Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's roll right into it. Week one is in the books. Week two is here. Loaded slate, as I just said. And there is no better place to start than the game that everybody is talking about, everybody is excited about, and it comes from beautiful Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Alabama hosting Texas. Alabama a 7-point favorite. The over-under set at 54.5. And of course, last year, this game was an absolute thriller as Alabama won in the final seconds. That was, of course, the game that unfortunately Quinn Ewers got hurt in. Heading into this one, I just think this is a fascinating game from so many levels, because what I believe is that it's really a statement game for both programs, right? Texas, have we arrived? And Alabama, I think their perspective is we want to prove to the world that we never left. So let's get into it. Let's discuss, and really let's start by going back to last week. Texas, a big opening season win against Rice. 37-10 was the final score. What was interesting about this one is, I'll say this, is I do think that if you just looked at the box score, you sit there and say, wow, Texas pretty much did everything you'd want Texas to do. 37-10 win. Quinn Ewers, 300 yards passing, 158 yards rushing from the Longhorns. On top of that, let's keep in mind that that defense, which obviously was much improved a year ago, and I think that is worth noting. Everybody's so focused on the offense at Texas, Steve Sarkisian, that defense was really good last year, and it was phenomenal in week one against Rice, holding them to 176 yards of total offense. And oh, by the way, how about this? 27 yards rushing in that game. So on paper, it all looked good. But I do think it is worth noting a couple things. One, as great as the defense was, and I'm not going to take anything away from them, thought the offense actually left a little bit to be desired. 37 points sounds great on paper, but if you watch the game closely, it was not out of doubt until about mid to late third quarter. It was only 10-3 after, or 10-7, excuse me, after the first quarter, and it was 16-7 going into the half. And so it wasn't until Texas scored 21 straight in the third quarter that they really put things away. Quinn Ewers, I thought he was good, but not great. 19 of 30 passing, 280 yards in that game, or 260 yards in that game. The offensive line, we've heard so much about the improvement there. I thought they were fine. I thought they weren't great. If anything, I actually thought it was the defense, which was as good as advertised, if not better. From the Alabama perspective, it was, again, another situation. We saw exactly what we wanted to out of Alabama. All offseason, we've heard all sorts of things about this Alabama team. What are they about? What is their identity? After years of relying on Bryce Young, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Alabama wanted to reestablish itself as a power physical football team. They want to beat you up, and that's all we've heard all offseason. Anytime any of those guys does an interview, it's we're physical, we're back, we're dominating. And I think it's been a cultural mindset all offseason. And at least for one game, it was much like Texas, pretty much what you wanted to see. Alabama finished with 205 yards rushing, over 5 yards per carry in that game, held Middle Tennessee State to just, right around 200 yards of total offense. And then I think beyond that, the real story of the game, and I think we all know what it was obviously Jalen Milroe, the now quarterback at Alabama. 13 of 18 passing, almost 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a great deep ball to Jermaine Burton, hit him right in stride, and then also rushed for another 2 touchdowns as well, as Alabama gets the victory. Looking at this game in the bigger pictures, we start to transition to from what happened last week to what we think is going to happen this week. A couple things stand out to me in terms of what I want to see and what I hope to see in this game going forward. From the Texas perspective, I am just fascinated to know, how does Texas handle all the pressure that is coming to them over the course of this week. Last year, close was great. Close doesn't count. They almost pulled off the upset. But you watch them the rest of the year, and I get it, right? Quinn Ewers was hurt. I understand that. But they finished 8-5. They had a couple ugly losses along the way. And so all offseason, we heard it again. Ewers is back. The wide receiver room may be the best team it may be the best in the country. The O-line has improved. The defense is very good. Like I said, the defense, I don't think people realize the defense was actually much better than a lot of people want to give them credit for from a year ago. It was actually, in many ways, I think it was the defense that was ahead of the offense last year. And again, I say that understanding that Quinn Ewers was out for a significant amount of time a year ago. I get that. But at the same time, go back and look at the stats. That defense was excellent for most of last season, even as the offense was kind of up and down. Again, we think of Steve Sarkisian. We think of offense. Well, Texas, solid, but they only ranked 55th nationally in total offense. How about this? They were 5th in the Big 12 alone in total offense. And it was actually the defense last year that was much better, 27th nationally in points per game allowed, 53rd nationally in total offense. So is this team really mature? Are they ready to go into the toughest road environment that they have played in? And then from the Alabama perspective, a few things stand out. One is obviously injuries, right? Two defensive backs, Malachi Moore, Jalen Key, both left the game on Saturday with kind of bumps and bruises. Nick Saban didn't sound all that concerned when talking about them, but that's obviously something to monitor in the lead up to this game. And then I think what we also want to see is, can they fulfill the prophecy of the offseason? Can they do what they've said they're going to do? Be physical, be tough, run the football. And what about Jalen Milroe? It seems like at this point, the job is his, no doubt. But as Nick Saban said, once I name a guy, remember he said this about a week or two ago. He said, once I name a guy, that's not the end of the conversation. That's just the beginning. So there's a lot to peel back, a lot to discuss. And let me go ahead and give you my pick. I actually really do like Alabama in this game, and I actually like them to not only win, but cover at home. First of all, you can go back to last year. It was a disaster, but it was a disaster by Alabama standards. Let me backtrack there. But even if you look at a lot of those close losses, a lot of it was Alabama self-inflicted wounds. I forgot this until I started doing the prep. Last year, yes, Alabama barely beat Texas. And yes, if Quinn Ewers never really got hurt, maybe the result is different. Alabama, and I forgot this, on the road, they had 15 penalties for 100 yards. I don't think that is going to happen on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. But more importantly, look, maybe I'm naive, but I am buying the Kool-Aid that this is a different program. This is a different group, that they are tougher, more physical up front. Was watching the game against Middle Tennessee State. Saw Cole Kublik, good friend of mine. Love Cole, respect the hell out of him. I think he's the best analyst in college football, bluntly. He kept going back to, he said Alabama has 3 different starters on their offensive line that are over 350 pounds. During the broadcast, he said it. He said, I called every offensive line coach I know. I called all my old buddies that I played offensive line with at Auburn. I have never heard of an offensive line with 3 different dudes that are 350 pounds plus, but they're all athletic. They're all physical. They can all move. And again, they were awesome early in the game and against Middle Tennessee State. Obviously, it's a different deal against Texas. But like I said with Texas, we heard, it's going to be different, more physical, more tough, more this, more that. Didn't really think the offensive line was that great last week. And more importantly, when I think about this game, it comes back to what I've said about Texas all offseason. Do you trust the coach? Do you trust the quarterback? Because I don't trust either. And let me say this. I don't root against anybody. I know Texas, Torres hates Texas. I don't hate Texas. I guess I do have questions, though. But the bottom line is, by the way, I think it'd be like, you know how crazy college football would be if Texas was actually awesome? But at the same time, I'm not rooting against Steve Sarkisian. I'm not rooting against Quinn Ewers. But I keep waiting for them to show me what I'm supposed to see, and I haven't seen it yet. Like I said it in the preseason. Quinn Ewers, everyone freaked out because he was awesome in that one half against Alabama before he got hurt. And I don't wish injuries upon anybody, to be abundantly clear. But at the same time, Quinn Ewers, after that, you know what his stats were to finish the year? 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. 56% completion percentage. And that's a guy that people are projecting as a first-round pick this year. And now he's got to go into the toughest road environment in college football that he has seen since he has been a college football player, at least since he's been a starter. Sorry. By the way, Quinn Ewers, go prove me wrong. But I haven't seen it yet. I keep waiting for it to emerge. I saw it from Shedeur Sanders in one game. I've seen it from Caleb Williams every single week for the last 3 years. I keep waiting for Quinn Ewers, and it has not happened yet. Maybe it's this weekend, but I don't see it. And then there's Steve Sarkisian. Look, I'm not an anti-Sark guy. I'm not rooting against anybody. But I'll say this. Where are the big wins? By the way, I said it in the preseason. His entire career. This is his 10th year as a Power 5 head coach. He has 0 seasons in which he has 9 regular season wins. Went 8-4 last year in the regular season, 8-5 overall. And had 1 year at USC where he won 8 regular season games and a 9th in a bowl game. So he has 1 9-win season, 1 8-win season in 10 years. And so, like, at some point, you kind of are who you are. And I was thinking about this too, and I went back and looked it up. Those second half meltdowns from Texas, at some point, they stop becoming a coincidence, right? Like you go back to last year. Texas lost 5 games. I went back and looked it up. Couple bad losses. Texas Tech, and I understand Quinn Ewers wasn't playing, but they were up 31-17 with 4 minutes left in the third quarter. They ended up losing to Texas Tech. No Quinn Ewers, I get it. They were also up 34-24 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter against Oklahoma State, end up losing that game. You go back 2 seasons ago, they were up 21 points against Oklahoma, ended up losing that game. Up 13 points at half against Oklahoma State, ended up losing that game. Up 11 points in the third quarter against Baylor, ended up losing that game. Steve Sarkisian, for whatever reason, it doesn't click in big games, in big moments. Great play caller on script. But once you get him off script, once you get him in the heat of battle, when he's not the offensive coordinator, but he's the head coach, I'm sorry. I haven't seen it yet. Sark, Texas, prove me wrong. I'll eat my crow on Monday. But until then, I like Alabama to win this game. I like Alabama to cover. Think it's close at the half, 14-14, 14-13, 14-10, one way or the other. But I have Alabama winning this game 31-21 because until they prove me wrong, I don't trust Quinn Ewers and I don't trust Steve Sarkisian in big moments.